again, the recruiters came in, Brian came in. The thing I liked about being recruited by Notre Dame, and by him particularly, is when he first walked in my house and we started talking. He talked to my grandparents, my grandmother. My grandfather didn't want to have anything. He don't know anything. He said, he said, honey, you go talk to him. I don't know anything about that. And that was nice. So she would talk to him, and they were talking to us. He said, in front of my grandmother. And at that time, my grandmother and I were having this conversation about, she was preaching to all of us to get an education. Mm-hmm. And that was way before the success came along, anything. She was telling all of us, and my older siblings, most of them went to college. Mm-hmm. So ahead of me, so she was always preaching academics. And so when Brian Bulak came in from Notre Dame, he sat down, he said, we really want Vegas to come play for Notre Dame. He said, but if he's not going to be a student, we don't want him. Because at Notre Dame, you're a student first. Mm-hmm. You're an athlete second. And I thought that was so cool. Now, all the recruiters come in, they would say, well, to talk to my grandmother. They said, well, we want, your grandson, because we think he's a great player. He can do this for our team, and we just love it. We love to have him. And the first thing Brian said, well, to my grandma, he said, if he's not going to be a student, he can't come to Notre Dame.
So all the other schools are more of what Vegas could do for them, but Notre Dame was what Notre Dame could do for you.
Yeah. If you did, he said, he told me, he promised my grandma, he said, if he comes to our school and he does what he's supposed to do, he'll graduate in 4 years. But in order for Brian to get to my door, though, I had to say this. I got to say that I got to give kudos to my real recruiter. His name was Ray Zaleski. He's passed on now. Ray was on me from, now, matter of fact, Ray Zaleski, he went to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. He was a local pharmacist here. And matter of fact, he has Phillips Drug Store. I'll put a plug in for him because his kids are running all these stores now here in town, and we still talk. And so Ray took me on as a second son, and Lamar Lundy's son was into high school at that time with me, and so he would take us to Notre Dame games because they were recruiting Lamar's son at that time.
Right.
He was 2 years ahead of me, and they would take us up, and that's the first time I saw Notre Dame. And the stadium and going to the locker rooms and everything.
That was amazing.
And Eric Marsh was a great coach there, and he was one of the ones that greeted us when Ray took us up. And so that was as a small town kid, sophomore in high school, going to a Notre Dame football game.
Right.
With then they were recruiting Lamar Lundy's son at that time. His name was we call him Marty, but you better call him Lamar now. He goes by Lamar. He's older now. If he sees this, he's gonna get me.
He's a big boy now.
Yeah, he's a big boy now, so you can't call him Marty. But so that was my first taste of college football and live, because I was actually able to see it. But that wasn't a hook for me. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I didn't think anything of it because I still had, I was a sophomore and I still had a way to go. So I didn't get the big head. I didn't think that I was any better than my teammates in high school. I knew that, that I had, that he just took me to a game with my cousin, okay? So I didn't think any more of it than that. And so, again, as I became a junior into my senior year, the recruiters came in. Indiana recruited me heavily, Purdue, Ohio State, Iowa. So all those teams kind of, came in and talked to me, but nobody talked to me like
Notre Dame
did.
So once you were at Notre Dame, I read, was Dan Devine was the head coach?
Dan Devine.
Dan
Devine.
Sorry.
And it's sad,
Excuse me, Notre Dame.
No, you're fine. Dan, he's been called a lot of different things.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I read that Joe Montana said that Dan never did anything to boost his confidence as a player and played a lot of mind games. What was your experience?
Well, we have position coaches, okay? And sadly enough, Joe wasn't recruited by Dan. Dan, he was recruited by Era. He came into the Era procedure. So anybody who recruits you, and you're not, and then another coach comes in, then they want their players that they recruited to play because they think more of them. Mm-hmm. And so Joe was caught in that gray area where he was he left. He was coming off. His coach is retired, and a new coach came in. And he had his quarterbacks he wanted to play. So no, he wouldn't have. Joe wasn't treated very well, and I was witness to that. But the thing is, it came to pass because his ability came out. So you couldn't deny. They couldn't deny him. You see what I'm saying? And he didn't complain. Joe didn't complain. Everybody knew, even as a freshman. Joe was probably, I think, a junior at the time, and he got redshirted, so we ended up playing 3 years together. But Joe wasn't a complainer. Joe was just, hey, if you need me, whatever I need to do, I'm going to do it. So they say, that, Joe said it, but he probably didn't say it that way.
Okay.
That it showed up in writing. Joe was a very caring person, and he cared about what people, his coaches. And
he was respectful of their position.
Very much, because.
I was going to say, what was the difference between playing now that you've got into college? What's the difference between high school and college football?
Same. It goes the same. Speed,
is it a different level or
speed, strength?
Everything more.
Knowledge of the game. Yeah, so it's a totally different game, and you view it differently. It's a harder hit. It's harder hitting. Guys are bigger, stronger, because you're playing against bigger and stronger kids. If you're playing against somebody. So yes, in the same way, if you go from college to pros, now you're getting elite athletes at the pro level. Everybody's on the same level, pretty much. So. Well,
you had an amazing first year. What did you think when it's every athlete's dream to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. How did that come about, and how did you feel seeing yourself on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
Again, it's one of those things, you got to give credit where credit's due, and so whenever I see that, it's a tribute to me, but it's also a tribute to everybody who helped me get there. I was just fortunate enough to get that pitch, get shot at that point. I was my senior year. We were playing Michigan, 100,000 people, and we were underdogs. We wasn't supposed to win the game, and it just we were able to win the game, and so if we didn't win the game, I wouldn't have been on the cover. But
what did you think when you looked at the newsstand or got it in the mail?
I didn't even know it was on the cover until somebody had called me. I didn't even know, because it's like it comes out the week or so later. So when it came out, seriously, at Notre Dame, nobody talked about it. It was only people at home who was trying to get copies of this and that. Can you get copies? I don't even know what you're talking about. It's what you're on Sports Illustrated. But even on our campus, nobody talks about that because that's not important. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't. It's
it was
a
just
team.
that moment in time, and
it's just So we won the game, and that's the most important thing. We won the game as a team, and so all the the sports history, that was fine. But the most important thing is that we won as a team.
Right.
And people tend to forget that when they see you, singled out like that.
Right. So some of the, I guess, statistics or honors I've read about you that. You were the first Irish rusher to gain more than 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons. You were an All-American pick. You finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy voting.
I didn't win it, though.
Okay. And also, when you graduated from Notre Dame, you were the all-time leading rusher. And today, I don't know what the statistics are right now, but you're the third. Are you the third leading?
Probably.
Something like that. You don't keep track?
No, I don't try to do that. That's not it. Okay. Again, the game is past. It's it's to the younger kids now. So.
You're also a member of the Indiana Football Hall of Fame?
Locally, yeah.
Okay. So you were drafted by New England in the first round. And you played professionally football for 3 different teams, for New England, Houston, and Cleveland.